Hi, Marilee Sears here, the systems coach, helping you put systems into your practice so you can work less and make more. And today we're going to talk about enrolling patients in treatment. And we're going to talk about 5 places to find more patients and how you can easily add $10,000 a month to your practice. No doubt. I have absolutely no doubt about this. You can add $10,000 a month to your practice if you follow the steps we're going to go through today. So grab a piece of paper and a pen and get ready to take some notes. Okay, so in our last video, we talked about energy and how important it is to bring a clear energy to your patient. So posture, facial expression, things like that. But like I said, it all comes down to that energy and how you feel when you're presenting treatment. So if you're frustrated, if you're in a bad mood, clear that out before you ever walk into the room. Just give yourself a minute to take a few deep breaths. And now you're in the room, we're going to talk about what we're going to do now. Okay, first and foremost, you need an intraoral camera. Now, I am just like everyone else. I love the high-end intraoral cameras. If you do not have one, you can actually buy them on Amazon for like $150. So I know that that's not ideal, but it is a great starting point. You cannot tell me that you can't afford $150. So if you do not have one yet, like I said, go to Amazon, put in the little search bar, intraoral camera, just plug into your USB port or into the USB of your computer, and you can take pictures that way. So at least in the meantime, get that. So that's a commitment you need to make if you want to add $10,000 a month to your practice. Okay. So with the intraoral camera, that's going to stay in the hygiene room, and you want your hygienist to take at least one picture on every patient. Now you might be asking, what are they going to take a picture of? We're going to get to that next. So set a date for when you're going to start doing that, start having your hygienist take a picture. Give her a couple days to get used to using the intraoral camera, and then in a week, 2 weeks, set the date that she's going to start taking a picture on each and every patient. Now what she's going to take a picture of, or he's going to take a picture of, is if you have any treatment that's recommended for patients, they're going to take a picture of that. And then if there's any broken teeth, large amalgam fillings, fracture lines, they're going to take a picture of that. And if there's tartar buildup, red inflamed gums, they're going to take a picture of that off. Like I said, they only need to start with one. You don't even want to overwhelm them, but just have them start by taking one picture. So any existing treatment that's been diagnosed, they can start by taking a picture of that incomplete treatment. The treatment that's diagnosed, treatment plan, but hasn't been scheduled, have them take a picture of that first. And then that picture, they're going to leave it up during the whole hygiene visit. And they can say something just like this: oh, this is a picture of that tooth that Dr. Smith recommended you get a crown on. They can even start that basic, that easy. Okay, then the next thing we want to do is we want to ask some open-ended questions with your patient. Again, this is a great thing for the hygienist to do, but I think it's great for both the hygienist and the dentist to do. So here's a few of my favorite open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are just questions that can't be answered with yes and no. So some open-ended questions that I love. My favorite is, what do you like about your smile? The reason why I like this is because I used to work in offices where we would ask, grade your smile on a scale of 1 to 10. Or what would you like to change about your smile? And I felt like it was a little bit salesy to even say it that way. And sometimes I have patients get really upset and say, I don't like my smile at all. But when you start on a positive note, and you say, what do you like about your smile? Sometimes people will say things just like, well, my teeth are in my mouth. And I'll say, oh, well, we definitely want to set the bar a little bit higher than that. So anything else you like about your teeth? Because if they don't like it, it's going to come out. People almost always go to the negative when you ask them a question like that, just about their smile, about their teeth. And so they'll open it up themselves about what they would like to change. So you can start it off on a positive note of, what do you like? And I usually will give a patient a compliment like, you really have a very cute smile, or, I love your eyes. Now tell me, they really light up when you smile. And tell me, what do you like about your smile? It just is a great way to start that conversation. Now, when you're asking these questions, the most important part is that after after you ask, you sit back and you listen. So many times we want to make patients feel better, but when they're telling us their concerns, what they don't like about their smile, what they don't like about their teeth, what their concerns are, we want to talk to them about, we want to just let them further explore those things. So an example of cutting patients off is a patient saying, yeah, I just don't like how yellow my teeth are. I'd love to get them whiter. And then I've heard, and I've been guilty of doing this too, so I'm not trying to throw any stones because these are all mistakes that I made. And now I've just learned, and my treatment presentations are so much more positive and get such a better response now that I've learned. But I used to say things like, oh, it's not that yellow, or I don't think it looks, you're being too sensitive. I once even had a patient that really wanted to whiten her teeth. She had a beautiful big smile. And so we set up we were going to do impressions that day, and the dentist came to do the exam. And he said, oh, what are you guys doing? I said, oh, we were going to do impressions for whitening as soon as we're done with the appointment here. And he said to her, give me a smile. He goes, you have a really nice, wide smile. And have you ever heard the saying before that fat women shouldn't wear white pants? And just like that, the patient who was so excited to get her teeth whitened was like, okay, I better not. Because he was saying, because she had such a nice, wide smile, that it would bring too much emphasis to it to whiten her teeth. It was silly. But I could tell she was so excited about doing it, and then it just completely deflated her. And she didn't want to do it anymore. And not only that, it was almost insulting her beautiful smile. She'd had orthodontics, it was a gorgeous smile. And it was almost insulting to compare it to someone who's overweight. So things like this, sometimes we speak without thinking. Again, I'm guilty of this. But it's a lot easier to not do that when you're just listening to the patient. So you're listening to their concerns, anything they'd like to change. And if there's things that they are talking about that bother them cosmetically, or they have a tooth that's bothering them, then what's the next question you're going to ask is, oh, how long have you been noticing this? Or how long has that been bothering you? And the next question is, when does that bother you? Or when do you notice that? And then the next question is, what have you tried to take care of it? Or how have you tried to solve the problem? Walk them through these steps, because it really is a way of patients understanding they get to bring it all to the surface, go through that process in their mind, how big of a problem this really has been for them, and how long it's been bothering them. And you learn these things too. What they're doing is they're talking themselves this treatment. That's what you want. I don't want to be selling treatment to patients that they don't want. But I want to be enrolling them in treatment that's beneficial to them, that they really do want. What happens when we don't ask these questions and we don't let patients walk themselves through the process? When a patient says, I like my teeth to be whiter, and I say, great, whitening's $500. They haven't walked through the pain. They haven't walked through the reasons of why they want the whitening. And then if they have enough motivation just right away for the $500, then they're going to do it. If they have a wedding coming up or a class reunion, then they might do it. But otherwise, they're probably going to go, yeah, I'm going to try something else. Or it doesn't bother me that much. How many times have you heard a patient say that? Yeah, it doesn't bother me that much. You know what? Maybe it does, and maybe it doesn't. The only way to know is to have them walk through the process and make that decision for themselves. You know, I learned this really, really well, because I had a personal experience. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share it with you very quickly. But this completely changed how I thought about talking to patients about treatment. I grew up in a family of 11 kids. I'm the 10th of 11 kids. And there are so many great things about being part of our clan. But one thing that's not so positive is we all got the puffer nose. Well, I mean, just about everyone. We're known for having some pretty good sized noses, right? And it always bothered me. My nose, I was always so self-conscious about it. And when I was 19 years old, I saved enough money to go get a nose job. And it was awful. My nose was actually bigger after my surgery than it was before, and I was having a lot of trouble breathing. So about a year and a half later, I went and saw 3 or 4 different doctors. And every single one of them told me that my nose was extremely hard to work on, that they couldn't foresee me getting a positive results. And some of them even said, I wouldn't touch you. You're a really complicated case. And it might sound silly, but this was devastating to me. I never cried in any of their offices, but I cried in my car after each and every one. And finally, I found a doctor that was well known for rhinoplasty revisions. So that means redoing nose jobs. And so he took on my case, and he did my nose job again. And while it was better than the first one, it still was really not good. I couldn't breathe through one side of my nose, and my nose was very much asymmetrical. And when I would smile, it would go to one side. So not only was it asymmetrical already, just when I was sitting, but when I would smile, it would drop and go to one side. Again, I just decided after this, I just was never going to think about it again. And anyone who knew me would probably think it doesn't bother her because I never mentioned it. I was able to meet the love of my life, my incredible husband, despite this nose that I hated. I just made it a non-issue. I didn't think about it anymore. And probably about 8 years after we were married, I told my husband that I was so self-conscious about my nose. I hated it. And he recommended, he said, well, get it fixed. He's like, if you can't breathe and you hate the way you look, go get it fixed. So again, I researched all these different doctors and I went to a number of them. And each of them would tell me how they would fix my nose, and no one ever sat down to find out what the issue was with me. And I found a doctor that came super highly recommended. In fact, I think the only reason why I made the appointment with him was because of the reviews on Google. The people saying that they had their second or third rhinoplasty done, and he had done it, and it was better than they'd ever expected. So I made an appointment with him, and I was sold. I knew I was getting it done. And when I came into his office, first of all, he walked me through the whole surgery, told me all the steps of everything he was going to do, and then he brought me into his treatment coordinator. And his treatment coordinator looked at my insurance. I hadn't planned on my insurance paying any of it. I'd paid for my 2 previous surgeries out of pocket. So while they asked for my insurance card, I didn't expect insurance to pay for any of it. And she said, I'm sorry, we don't accept your insurance. And without insurance, it's going to be $9,000. And she said it just like that. In fact, I think she stopped looking at me in the eye when she said, it's going to be $9,000. And she said, I'm sure you probably want to look at your other options. I'd already been to a few other doctors, and this one was the one who had come the most highly recommended. I walked into that office 100% sure that I was going to get treatment, and I walked out without scheduling. I took the treatment plan home, and I just let it sit. They never called me back to follow up to see if I wanted to schedule. And probably about a month or two after the appointment, my husband said, I'll never bring this up again, Marilee. Well, what did you decide about your nose surgery? And I told him, I kind of told him that it hadn't been such a good experience, that I knew this is where I wanted to go. But as I've been there, it had almost talked me out of it. Because they hadn't told me how much better I was going to look or how much better I was going to breathe. And when they presented the treatment, really they hadn't let me talk at all. And when they presented the treatment, they presented it like this. In a way that really, it lessened the confidence that I had that the surgery was going to be worth it. And because I have such an amazing, incredible, supportive husband, he said, if this is going to bother you, you should get it done. But if you don't ever think about it again. So if you give yourself a week, and if you think you can get over it and never think about it again, forget about it. And he said, but if you don't think you're going to be able to stop thinking about this, let's schedule it and get it done. And that's what I did. Over the next week, I tried to forget about it. I tried to look in the mirror and not look directly at my nose. But a lifetime of habit is hard to break in a week. And there was a lot of insecurity tied up in that nose. What I'm saying is nobody knew these things. This is a conversation I had intimately with my husband. I couldn't just share that with anybody, but I would have shared it if they would have asked. And because they didn't ask, because I didn't get a chance to share my story, I almost didn't have the surgery done. And my nose now is not perfect by any means, but it is so much better. And I feel so much more confident. The funny thing is, I haven't had one friend that didn't know about the surgery say, oh, your nose is different. Nobody even notices. It's not that big of a difference. But it made all the difference to me. And for patients who are self-conscious about their smile, who take the time to express, like, you know what, could anything be done with these front teeth? What about these faces? I'd like my teeth to be a little bit more yellow. I'd like my teeth to be a little bit more white. What we need to realize is that there could be a whole lot of layers of insecurity there about these issues. And just saying, oh, it's not that big of an issue, or just jumping right to the solution without giving them the chance to kind of walk through that pain of why they want to fix it, actually doing them a disservice. So those are the steps I want you to follow. I want you to take an intraoral picture. Well, first of all, order the intraoral camera if you don't already have that. Then have at least one picture taken on each and every patient. Have the picture stay up during the whole hygiene appointment. Ask the patient what they like about their teeth. Then ask them those questions of, how long has this been bothering you? Or how long have you noticed this? When do you notice this? What have you tried? What have you tried to fix it? What have you tried in the past? How has that worked for you? These are the questions that are going to get them to walk through their story, and then they get to make the decision for themselves of whether or not they want the treatment. I know you can do these things. I wish you the best of luck, and I know that by doing them, you can easily add that $10,000 a month to your practice. Give yourself a goal, give yourself a start date, and then just do it.